Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of Cross Culture Critic Podcast. I'm Joe.
I'm Chris.
And we are here this week. And again, I'm never good at these intros. I tend to start strong and then get into this kind of babbling.
It's easy to say your name, but when you have to keep the
and then when I got to keep it going, it gets a little mucky. But anyway, we were talking prior to recording about new shows we've been watching or things like that, and there was a show that I wanted to ask you: Has there ever been a show or a movie that you totally did not think you would like? Totally did not think you would like, and you start watching it, and now you're into it. You're sold.
Oh, I think it's happened to me like more times than I can count. I'm trying to think of off the top of my head, TV-wise, it's probably a little less likely, simply because I think with TV, I usually know if I'll like a show or not. Oh, but I actually have the perfect one. Happened just...
I thought you were going to say Happy Days.
Not Happy. Everyone loves Happy Days. No, like 2 years ago, there were two shows that I thought I was going to hate. One was Fargo.
Okay.
And one was The People versus O.J. Simpson.
Okay.
And with Fargo, I honestly thought there's no way this can be good. Fargo, the movie, is a masterpiece. It is one of my favorite movies. They can't make a TV show out of it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I've never watched it.
It's fantastic.
Really?
Oh my gosh. The first season really captures kind of that mix of comedy and black humor and thriller really well. And then the second season is a totally different story. And it's almost like a mob.
I'm not saying this to sound facetious. When you say black humor, you talking dark humor?
Dark
or
humor.
You talking like
dark humor?
Next Friday, barbershop?
No.
You know
Chris
what I
Tucker.
mean? So
no.
like dark humor.
Yeah, dark humor.
Okay, because I was going to say,
it's really good. I mean, I wouldn't put it up there with the movie, but Fargo surprised me. So that was one I thought I would hate, and I kind of watched it just to see. And I ended up loving it. I still haven't seen the third season, though. And then People vs. O.J. Simpson. I remember I lived through the O.J. Simpson stuff when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And I thought I had heard everything I would ever need to hear in my life about O.J. I never need to hear his name again. Uh-huh. And same thing. I don't know why I turned it on. I guess I was just like morbidly curious to see like Cuba Gooding Jr. as O.J. Simpson. Fantastic show. Huh. Like, fantastic. And it just... funny, and that you get
funny.
Funny in the way that like David Schwimmer is Robert Kardashian, and he's
Okay.
always calling OJ the juice. So like, there's a supercut online of all the times he says juice. But I mean, yeah, it's really entertaining and fascinating. And they put out a documentary about OJ Simpson that same year, and I thought it would be overkill. No, it was just.
See, that's why I've never watched that, because I thought it was going to be over. Like, oh, this is just another network's take on. Like a re-dramatization of...
It's really good. It's fantastic. And then there's the documentary. I forget what the documentary was called, but it was done by the people who do 30 for 30. 30 for 30, yeah.
Now that I saw and loved.
Made in America. That's what it was.
Made in America,
and I loved that. Movie-wise, I'm sure it's happened more times than I can count. Something like probably Hairspray. The musical they did a few years ago, I watched that out of professional obligation. Loved it. It was fun. I'm sure like I could be here for hours listing it, but off the top of my head, I just know it's happened. Well, what happened with you?
The one that got me, for starters, because when you start talking about TV shows and stuff, it reminded me, the two that come to mind for me were both suggested. I don't want to say suggested. My girlfriend Molly. I don't want to say suggested. She was more like, we're watching this tonight. Yes. Yeah, we're going to watch this. And the first one was New Girl. And just the title, if I saw just a still picture of the cast and the title, I was like, Like, I'm not watching this. I'm thinking it's like Gilmore Girls or, something just good, like... New Girl, just the title of the show alone.
And Zooey Deschanel is kind of hit and miss with me.
Yeah. And so the title of the show throws me for a loop. Like, I'm just like, this is going to be a chick show. It's all going to be about chick problems and stuff like that. That show ended up being, it's probably in my top 5 all-time comedies.
I've heard it's good.
It is hysterical. It is so good. I love all the actors in it. They all work together. They work beautifully together, I think. And it's a great show. With that one, like kind of coming out of left field, that kind of turned me. I don't know how I'm trying to end this here as far as New Girl. So New Girl. I didn't think I'd like it, and I did. The next one that blew me away, that I totally was not expecting, was Molly asked me. She said, she's like, "Hey, will you watch a TV show with me?" I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "The Crown." And I'm like, "What's that about?" And she's like, "The Queen of England."
No.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm like, "No."
My wife watches that.
And she's like, "I'm 3 episodes in, and it's fantastic." I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me." Well, I tried to do the nice boyfriend thing. I'm like, "Okay, we'll watch it one night, And, we eat dinner and we pop it in. Again, I say this pop it in stuff. We turn it on.
Yeah, it's like when you hang up your phone. No one hangs up a phone anymore.
Right. So we turn it on, and it's on Netflix. And it's basically... it's a type of show that you got to watch. I'm late to the party because I believe it's season 2 or season 3 or something, so we didn't jump in on the first season. But it's a type of show that you start watching, and you got to have your phone with you because you start, you get into it, and you're like, well, I want to know more about this, and did this really happen that way? So you're kind of, through the whole show, you're kind of like Googling and looking through history and things like that. And the show is fascinating because I never... in my life, the most English history that I knew was that we beat them in a revolution, and we kind of defeated Hitler with them, and that's pretty much all I know of British history. Now, with the Queen of England, I just thought the Queen of England was like the president over there, she was just the president. She made rules and laws and all these different things. And through the show, I've come to realize that she doesn't. It's a monarchy, and I'm maybe talking out of my butt here because I'm a rookie at this, but it's a monarchy, which means she's the head of the church. Mm-hmm. And this astounds me because as Americans, we hear about the British tabloids, and we hear about over the decades, the Princess Diana and the Prince Charles and the infidelity and this and that. And all these different, members of their family and extended family. And what's crazy is she's the head of the church. And so you start to see in Great Britain why things are the way they are, why things are done the way they are. Because if she doesn't uphold the biblical, ideal that she's been put in charge of, it's kind of like if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
So if she gives into these little things, like her sister wants to marry a guy who's divorced. Now, even though they're divorced, okay, everything's fine between him and her. They both went mutual ways, everything like that. The divorce wasn't his fault. The Catholic Church still does not recognize, at that time, I don't know if it's still like this because I'm not Catholic, but the Catholic Church does not recognize divorce.
Is it Catholic Church, though, or is it Anglican? I think isn't it Anglican over there?
Yeah, it's like the Church of England. So I don't know what that
Anglican.
is.
I think that's
okay.
Anglican.
So I'm sorry. If you're Catholic and I just insulted you, I'm sorry.
We are 2 red-blooded Americans.
Yeah, exactly. I'm non-denominational. So,
right.
But so the way they look at it is, with the whole divorce thing. So they say, even though he's divorced and everything's good, because she's still living, the ex-wife, he can't marry again. But because it would be like he's marrying 2 wives.
Right.
So, that all plays into it. I learned that the Queen of England's father, okay, so if you're playing along, the Queen of England's father, his brother was supposed to be the real king.
Oh, yeah. Haven't you seen the King's Speech?
No.
Yeah, and he abdicated the throne.
Exactly.
And gave it to the guy with the stutter.
Yes, so I did not know this. So,
I only know it because I saw the King's Speech.
So, you have the opportunity to be king of England, the king. And divinity and divine whatever has put you in that family to take over that crown. And he turned away from it for the love of a woman. thus putting his brother in as king, which sent the entire family into turmoil, which, again, is somebody who just kind of, doesn't know history or anything like that. I think if someone was like, hey, do you want to be king? Like, you think being king would be awesome or being queen would be awesome. And you watch the show and you realize it's not. Like, it's a curse more than it is a blessing.
You have to fit yourself into these strictures and these traditions.
Yeah. And, like, everyone around the Queen of England, like, her husband can, like, go to hunting clubs and riding clubs, and he can ride motorcycles wherever he wants to. Queen of England can't do that.
I would love to see the Queen of England riding a motorcycle.
Yeah, like, she can't do any of that. Like, occasionally she goes to stables and, like, looks at horses, at least on the show. But that's it. Like, it's fittings for gowns for future meetings and meetings with dignitaries. Like, she gets, like, she doesn't get to, like, go and hang out with her friends and go get her hair done and do all these things. And watching the show, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a curse. This is not a blessing. And then, like, to talk about the kids, like, okay, or whoever the next one's going to be that takes the crown, like, that kid is almost looked at like, oh, you're cursed, kid.
Yeah, you're cursing your own kids.
Yeah, you have to carry on this tradition. And so this show blew me away. So if you're a thinker that likes to do this, that likes to watch a TV show and fact check and stuff like that, obviously they take liberties. They take entertainment liberties and stuff like that in the show. But oh my word, it is a fun show to watch in the sense that, like, it's a whole new world. Like, my mind is blown as far as what that was all about, why people get so into the royal family, all this, and I love it.
So are you going to be watching the next royal wedding? Or is there a royal? Yeah, there's a royal wedding coming up. Yeah.
I didn't watch the last one with William and what's the
Kate?
Kate, yeah. William and Kate, and Harry and Markle. Isn't that her last name?
Sure.
Something Markle.
I'm American. I don't pay attention.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. Now that I'm watching the show, yeah, I think I'm going to kind of be interested. Because it's just crazy how, like, the public, like, it's like here. It's like if somebody in another country thought that everyone loved our president. You know what I mean? So, like, you start to find out that, like, people in England can't stand the Queen of England. Like, they don't understand why they have a royal family. They don't understand what these people do. They don't understand that, like, when one of the kids gets married, why the public taxpayers have to pay for that wedding. Like, all of this is just, like, bizarre. So it's a really fun, interesting show to watch, and I've learned a ton.
I have to admit, my wife watches that. And I haven't done it because I will totally cop to having an allergy for, like, anything about British class or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, she kept trying to get me into Downton Abbey when I was on.
Yeah.
And I watched one, maybe not even an episode, maybe like 30 minutes. And I stood up like, this is way too British for me. I can't do it. Like, that's just something I can't do. I can't watch any of her Jane Austen movies. Sherlock I can do, but maybe I will have to give that
I love the British Office. I love
Monty Python is great.
Yeah, like that stuff. I mean, obviously there's British stuff that I really do like. The one that always got me was that I couldn't believe that I liked was the one with the dude from oh my goodness, from Entourage. He's the big he's the agent on Entourage.
Is this Mr. Selfridge?
Mr. Selfridge.
I wanted to say Mr. Belvedere so bad.
No, Mr. Selfridge. Like, I actually stumbled upon that show.
I have not seen it, but
my TV, I didn't have cable, and my HD antenna got CBC, the Canadian station. And it was playing Mr. Selfridge. And it started at episode 2. And I watched from, like, it did it like a marathon one day. And I came in at episode 2. And I was just like, it just seemed really cool. Now, who's the guy?
Jeremy Piven.
Jeremy Piven. He played a horrific, in my opinion, it was awful. It was really hard to watch him acting in this, like, period set thing in England. Now, mind you, he's an American.
Hug it out.
Yeah, he's an American who's over there opening up opening up a store, but it was bad. Like everyone in the show was really good, but he was so out of place. Like I wanted him to be the guy he was, Ari from from Entourage, and he ended up, he's in this like serious role and all this stuff, and so I liked it, but it was weird.
Now, do you find as you're getting older that your dad movie gene has kicked in, where now it's like I used to be bored by any movie about history, and now I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I took a class on movies about journalism last semester, and the thing I loved the most was watching a movie about the McCarthy era and how that bled into Nixon, and you had, The Post, which just came out, which is fantastic, by the way, and revealing how, the newspaper world exposed all these government secrets about how the government knew we were going to lose Vietnam, and that leads right into All the President's Men, where, I understood Watergate more, and the break-in there, and now I want to go back and watch old World War II stuff. Like,
yeah.
I want to go back and watch Band of Brothers, because I've never seen that. And
you haven't?
I have not. And I have HBO.
Oh, Band of Brothers in the Pacific is amazing.
And then there's The War, the documentary, which is on Netflix, which is like 20 hours long.
Yeah.
I just find it helps me understand my world so much more.
Yeah. I think it's, like, my personal opinion, I think it's a brain development thing. I think it's something that in humans, I think all of us, like, as we get older, we want to know more about the past. Whereas when you're young, when you're 16 years old, who cares about Ancestry.com? But as you grow older, you, like, all this stuff, like, you want to know more about your grandparents. You want to know more about that. Like, I feel like I hated history growing up. I could care less. And now that I'm, an adult, I'm 40 years old, I going to Hawaii to see, like, all the Pearl Harbor stuff and just reading about stuff and again, back to The Crown and all these things. Like, now as I get older, I just, my thirst can't be quenched for it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I was the same way. I hated history. And now I saw Darkest Hour, which today was nominated for Best Picture. And fantastic story about Winston Churchill.
Yeah, I want to see that bad.
Yeah, and that would make a great double feature with Dunkirk. And I am fascinated by that. I think another thing to tie into what you were talking about, things you thought would not work or you would not like, and you loved, and it has this historical angle. I think I've talked about this before, but I went through a year-long obsession with Hamilton, the Broadway musical, which I haven't seen, but I have listened to that soundtrack. It's had to be upwards of 50 times.
Yeah.
I would put it on whenever I wrote. And that was one of those things where I'm not a big Broadway guy. I don't get to go see Broadway shows, so I don't listen to them. And just this whole idea of a hip-hop show about America kind of seemed like it would be after-school special to me, like where someone dressed as Ben Franklin comes into your classroom and is like, my name's Ben Franklin, and I'm here to say...
Right.
But
I made electricity back in the day.
But, oh my gosh, I listened to this. Have you listened to Hamilton at all?
No.
Okay. It's almost the same thing. It's dense. It's about 2.5 hours long. And it's rap because that's the only way you could fit in arguments about politics and freedom and crafting our, financial institutions and make it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I don't know.
So good.
Schoolhouse Rock did
pretty good. But oh my gosh, I remember listening to that and just being blown away by the second song. Like, this is fascinating, and they're taking history and making it, fascinating in a way that I didn't think could be done. Like, they use a minority cast to stress the role immigrants played in our, in our founding, and they use rap because that gets into just how dirty the cabinet battles were. They're fighting back and forth, and then you just learn so much about. Oh, I never knew anything about Alexander Hamilton. I didn't know he had, the first sex scandal in American history. I didn't know, he played a role, in securing our freedom and, fighting in the revolution and crafting our government. And, it's the same thing. Like, you'll listen to it and you'll go to Wikipedia to see, how much of this is true? Or there's like a 700-page book that was based on that I own that I have not cracked open yet. But it is fascinating, and I might have to give The Crown a look.
Do it.
It's only 2 seasons so far, right?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I think it is. I think, but it might be 3, but I think it's just 2.
Now, have you seen? I know there's an episode where the Queen meets with Billy Graham.
I have not seen that one yet.
Okay. What I'm really curious about is
I don't know if you're joking right now.
No, it is. Because,
is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Billy Graham used to meet with all the heads of state.
Okay.
And what I'm curious about is if he breaks the Billy Graham rule in that, which is Billy Graham would never meet with a woman alone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was like his big thing. Pence does that too. He would never meet with a woman alone. So I'm very curious if he breaks the Billy Graham rule in the show. So I will have to watch and see, but I might have to add that.
Yeah, watch it. Queue. Like, definitely give the show 2 episodes.
Okay.
Because obviously you get into it and all that stuff, and your head's kind of spinning. But give it 2 episodes, and then after, like, by the end of the 2nd episode, the branches like are starting to fork where the different plot lines, different storylines, I should say. And it's great. I mean, I'm stoked for my days off for Wednesdays and Thursdays, and so Wednesday nights I go over, hang out with my girlfriend, and we watch. Molly and I sit there and we watch a few episodes, and so I'm literally stoked. Like, I can't wait to get over there tomorrow to see the next 2 episodes. And then the whole time, she's looking stuff up on her phone. I'm looking up stuff on my phone. And we're comparing, or we'll get together, after not seeing each other for a while. And she'll be like, hey, I recently started watching this side documentary on Prince Philip.
Oh, well,
Queen's
next time I come here, you're going to be like having the little crown on your head.
No, to tell you the truth, it's going to be like Stranger Things with the tentacles going through the house. I'm going to have like flow charts as to like what's going on in Great Britain, who's where and who's dating whom and how this went. Like, that's what it's going to look like.
Now, here's the crazy thing. The next royal wedding, he's marrying an actress. And if they get to that portion of the show, will she just play herself?
Ooh, good one.
Yeah. Find out, I guess, in like 10 seasons on the ground.
Yeah, stay tuned.
So I think we have hit out of time.
Good stuff.
So we will stop for now, and you can join us for Tea and Crumpets next week. Until then, where can people find you online?
If you want, you can try and find me on Facebook if you can. If not, you can find my band's stuff on iTunes, The Insiders.
You can find me on Twitter at cdub727, and you can find me online, my website at crossculturecritic.com. So we will see you next week.
See you.